Hello everyone and welcome to a book review for Queens and Monsters. I read this one via ebook. This was written by India Amare and is book number 1 in the Blood Falls series. Now, there is an issue. This was a little confusing to me, so I had to look into this a little bit more. So when I click on Goodreads, the link for the series, it says it's part of the series The Blood Falls. It says there's 6 primary works. However, according to like Amazon, it's 3 works, I want to say. So book number 1 is Queens and Monsters Awakening. Book number 2, and this is according to Goodreads, book number 2 is Queens and Monsters Cursed. And then number 3 is Queens and Monsters Destiny. So I think what has happened is those were maybe published independently and it's like a third of the book was published in the last third, and now it's all in just Queens and Monsters. So, there's also Queens and Monsters Prophecy. So I think those are all 4 of those books are combined into just Queens and Monsters. So, yeah, because the next, according to Goodreads, the next book, which is number 5, is Kings and Sirens Tempted, and then Kings and Sirens Tamed is number 6. But according to Amazon, that there's only like 3 books in this. So do with that information what you will. So I read this via ebook, and the edition that I read, it says that the Kindle edition is 452 pages. So again, this is book number 1 in the Blood Falls series, written by India Amare. What can I tell you? Let me look at the author profile on Goodreads. It says India Amare is the author of the Blood Falls series. It's the pen name, so this is a pen name. India Amare is a pen name. It says pen name of a prolific romance author who finally unleashed the paranormal universe that's been trapped in her head ever since she snuck a copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula into the shopping cart when her mom wasn't looking, and got in trouble for that. After a career of studying the long arc of human history, she's often wondering what if. What if vampires existed? What if magic was real? What if everything we dream about isn't imaginary after all? So, it doesn't tell me what her name is. So, okay, so India Amare. Okay, here we go. India Amare is the paranormal pen name of romance author Alexis Ann. So I'm going to type in Alexis Ann. Okay, so Alexis Ann is also listed on Goodreads. And it says she writes page-turning romances that will leave you breathless and wanting for another happily ever after. So under Alexis Ann, she has Tease is the name of the series. She also, so The Storm Inside, Summer Heat. So it looks like these are regular, probably erotica or very steamy romances, what it looks like from what I can tell from the covers on some of these. And then, so contemporary romances is the term I'm looking for. And then if you want her paranormal writing, then you would go to India Amare. So Alexis Ann is the contemporary version, India Amare is the paranormal. And that's what we're focusing on today, is her paranormal story, Queens and Monsters. So Queens and Monsters was published in 2021. And there was no audiobook available for this book. I don't know if there will be one at some point, but when I read this, there was not. You do have trigger warning for body horror as well as death of family. So this one we are following, what's the character's name? I have to go to the book because I don't remember. Raisha, I think is how it is said. So Raisha is the main female character, and the main male character is Dragus. Okay, so what has happened is opens with Rises in college. She works at a bookstore. This lady comes in with what appears to be 2 bodyguard type people. She is looking for the most recent book of a particular series that is well loved. So they strike a friendship and a kind of a bond for the love of this author and the work, the series, and things go on. So Rice's, it kind of feels, one of the guys that's in there is Dragus, and Rice, when she's around him, she starts to hear these little whisperings, like something's when she's near him, and then, but when she gets further away from him, she doesn't hear those voices anymore, but the closer she gets to him, the more she does. Well, anyway, stuff happens. There's a shooting out in front of the bookstore, so warning about that. And what happens is Raisha, she goes out, sees to see what's happening, and she kind of just freezes. It's like she has no control. She can think, but she has no control of her body anymore. She can't get it to move. She can't do anything. And Dragus is looking at her like, what the heck is going on? What's wrong with you? He's shot, bleeding out. Obviously, paramedics come. He's got to go to the hospital. So, and this book is told in first person. So then she kind of, I guess, blacks out, because the next thing you know, she's in her apartment. Well, she does get there. You do see her get to her apartment, but then she, at some point, she wakes up and they're like, who are you? What is going on? Well, it turns out she is a vampire. Now, they're called shaman, I want to say. I struggled with that word the whole time I was reading it, so it would have been nice to have the audiobook so I know how to say the characters' names and this. But essentially, this is a vampire romance. So it's just another word for vampire, but they use the word shaman, but they do joke and say, yes, it is vampire. There are some current vampire myths that people have because based off of our species type of a thing. So anyway, so it turns out she is this awakening is what it is called. So she grew up as an orphan, went from home to home, and in the foster care system. And this awakening is when the vampire self comes forward. So she's been like this human her whole life, and now all of a sudden her vampire form is present. They do drink blood, and they have some magical abilities. Some can shift from one place to another, so rather than walking or whatever, they can just think of being at one place and then they're there. She has some great abilities. Now, one thing, I will say this, one thing about this one that did bug me is basically Dragus, whatever, the main male character, basically he has a magic penis, okay? It grows in size, does whatever it needs to do to fulfill and satisfy the main female character. There was a lot of emphasis on how magical and how big it gets and how could it get any bigger. That kind of started to annoy me because I felt like it was redundant and was definitely overdone. So this does get sexually explicit, so you do see it all, and things like that. The main female character gets taken to her family home by her grandfather. Turns out there's something going on with her mom, but her dad is dead, and you learn more about that going into it. And so that's all I'm going to say about that, because you do learn more about what's going on with the mother. Not all questions are answered, but you do learn some stuff. But you do learn that the father is dead. And so she's taken to her home to learn about the family stuff by her grandfather, and how she is he says that she's the rightful heir. People question if she is, and so she kind of has to prove herself. There are people that are a part of her family home that don't really want her there, and so they will do what they can to sabotage her, so you do have some of that. But Drakus, whatever the heck his name is part of another family, and a bunch of these other vampire families are kind of keeping an eye on the one that she is a descendant of, because that family has shown that they are really up to no good, and things like that. They are able to create, basically they can force these some people to, it's kind of like a zombie version of a vampire, so they're kind of in between limbo. They're not fully human, but they're not vampires. So you learn more about that, and that's not such a good thing. There's a lot of family secrets to unfold, and that's kind of all I can remember about this one. I think I had a good time reading it, but I think ultimately, because of all the talk about how magical this guy's penis was, it dragged it down to like a 4-star. I think if there wasn't so much emphasis on that male anatomy, it would have been like a 4-star. And I do know there is going to be more emphasis on the sex because this is sexually explicit. Is this tagged as an erotica? It says, so the tags on Goodreads is vampires, paranormal, fantasy, romance, reverse harem, shapeshifters, fantasy romance, which is so it's not classified as an erotica, but it is sexually explicit. So do be aware of that. I just don't think there should have been so much emphasis on this man's magical penis, and that really dragged it down because it was overdone. It was overdone. So, okay, but overall I did enjoy the writing, and I did get invested in the relationship between the characters and things like that. So, you also have dragons in this, I will say that, and that's all I'm going to say. You do have dragons. So if you want a book that contains dragons, this does have dragons. You don't know, they don't show up until a little later in the book, but they are there. There are dragons. Okay. That's pretty much all I can really say about this one without going into spoilers. A lot of sex. The main female character is learning about her family. A lot of family secrets unearthed, and I don't want to say what these family secrets are because these are definitely ones that you want to learn along with her. Again, told in first person, so you're in her position learning all this stuff. Okay, let's get into the terminology in case you're still on the fence with this book. You have the word bang comes up 1 time. The name God comes up 24. Rate comes up once, and this does not get detailed. It's just so-and-so could have been or was or something along those lines. The word damn comes up 40. Shit, 19. Hell, 43. Breast, 48. So a lot of these terms are going to be sexual in nature. Again, it is explicit, but you obviously will see this as I tell you some of these words and the frequency of these words. They do come up a lot. The more I have found that the more sexually explicit the book, the more these terms come up. So the term or phrase turned on or like turned me on comes up 4 times. Erection, 12. Come or came, C-O-M-E or C-A-M-E, basically past tense, or you're going to come, you're going to have your orgasm. It's reference to an orgasm. That comes up 74 times. Climax, 3. Hard, 24. Bullshit, 3 times. Arousal, arousing, aroused, whatever one, 16 times. Length, 10. Head, 15. Clit, 50. Wet, 20. Turn my paper over. Rut, once. Now this is interesting. Rut, there's another book that I read that in, and I don't remember what one that was, and it was part of a series. I wish I could remember that, but that was so long ago I don't remember. But rut was used, and rut is used in the place of fuck in this case, in both instances. And that particular one, that's the first time I've ever heard that. This is the second book that's used that word, but rut only comes up 1 time in this particular book. All right, continuing on, we have the word pussy coming up 23 times, dick, 25, orgy, 3 times, folds, 11, tits, 4, shaft, 3, base, 2, the term goddamn, once, boobs, once, cock, 140 times, nipple, 120, seam, 2 times, fuck, 102 times, balls, 2, libido, once, horny, 6, orgasm, 78, and bastard, once. So you can see just from the word that was used the most, which was cock, how much emphasis there was on this guy's penis. So yeah, so that's it. Let me know. Have you read Queens and Monsters? I'm sorry that this is not, at least in my opinion, I don't know, a good explanation of what the book is about. It's been a little bit since I have read this, like over a month, I want to say, and this is the first time I have I'm trying to get caught up on my reviews, so I have forgotten some of the stuff that's in this book, but I do remember the main gist of it, and so that's kind of all I can tell you. So I do apologize, I'm not more clear with what this book is about, but that's pretty much it. Anything else is good to learn going into it. And again, I don't want to spoil anything. I want to keep these spoiler free. So let me know, have you read Queens and Monsters? Have you read anything by Alexis Ann, since that is the actual name of the author, or anything else under her pen name, which again is India Amare? Let me know your thoughts on this. Talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I'll talk to you later.